So hi everyone and welcome to the Listening Skills Under Pressure webcast. I hope you're all keeping well. This is the third of a series of webcasts in which I've been talking about some skills that are key as we adapt to working and managing others remotely, as many of us are now needing to do. So in this webcast, I'm going to focus on listening, which if you've heard either of the previous two, you'll know is a crucially important skill, whether you are coaching and managing others or just trying to build relationships and stay connected with team members or customers. So we're going to think about why listening is so important, what we mean by really listening, and how you can improve your listening. I'm sure you've all heard the old adage, we have one mouth and two ears for a reason. And we all know that listening is important, but why? You can probably all relate to what it feels like to be really listened to and what it feels like when you know that you aren't. I mean, put yourself in this little guy's position. How do you think he's feeling? Not only a bit upset, frustrated and not heard, but it'll be having a direct effect on the quality of his thinking. He may start to stumble over his words and he'll probably start to doubt himself. Nancy Kline, in her book Time to Think, describes really high caliber listening as attention and calls out just how influential it is on the other person's ability to think. Think about a time when you know you were really properly listened to and you had someone's full attention, and compare how that felt. I imagine that you felt encouraged and unrushed, possibly stimulated and subsequently focused. And as Nancy says, listening really does indeed ignite the human mind. But it's not as easy as it seems, is it? I mean, the majority of us are blessed to have the physical sense of being able to hear, but listening is a whole different thing. It's a skill we have to really focus on to develop and become good at, and we have to choose to use it. We think we listen, but we don't most of the time. We interrupt each other, we finish each other's sentences, we fill the silences, fidget and give advice, often advice based on assumptions that we've made because we haven't listened to the full story, or we've jumped in and finished those sentences. So it can help to think about the 5 levels of listening. If we start at the bottom with not listening at all, I'm sure you can relate to that when you know that you are not being listened to at all and someone is focusing on other things. How many of you have recently been on a conference call when you or someone else has obviously been distracted and not listening to what is being discussed at all? Pretending to listen, a little bit like the boy's father in the cartoon earlier. He says he's listening, but he's obviously not. Likewise, if someone continues to type on their laptop when you're talking to them, however good they think they are at multitasking, they are not listening to you. Selective listening is a trap that we often fall into. We hear what we want to hear and we tune into the things that are on our own agenda because we apply a filter that we listen through. We only ever get half the story if we do this, and we're left making assumptions and interpretations. And being in a rush can often lead us to do this, so take your time and don't be tempted to offer advice based on what you think you've heard to move the conversation on. Attentive listening is something that we tend to be quite good at in business because we're trained to summarise and to paraphrase. But, and here is the biggest trap of working remotely, there is a real danger that you end up listening to the words and only the words and missing the non-verbal cues that you might have picked up in person. At the top of the triangle, empathetic listening involves much more than registering, reflecting, or even just understanding the words that are said. Communication experts estimate that only 10% of our communication is represented by the words that we say, 30% by the sounds, and 60% by our body language. So in empathetic listening, you listen with your ears, but you also, more importantly, listen with your eyes and with your heart. You listen for feeling, you listen for meaning and for behaviour. So you use your right brain as well as your left. Really high caliber listening, or attention as Nancy Kline calls it, means that you pick up on feelings and the broader content and subtext, not just the words that are being said. You are listening with respect, interest and genuine curiosity, as well as an open mind. So here are some things to think about to improve your listening. Number 1, environment. Think about your environment to help you avoid distractions. Turn your phone off. Close your email program so you don't get notifications popping up. Shut the door to the room you're working in, or put headphones on so that you can concentrate. Do what you need to do to create the right environment for you. 2, focus. Give your full focus and attention to who you are listening to and ditch your own filter that you may ordinarily apply. It's tiring, I'll warn you, and it takes some effort. But when you start to see the impact on others and the higher quality thinking that you are enabling, it makes all the effort worthwhile. A first step is to be aware of your filter, of your preconceptions, prejudices, judgments, or assumptions, and make a real effort to put them aside and keep an open mind. Be open-minded and demonstrate unconditional positive regard, or in other words, accept and support the other person without judging or evaluating them. If you do this, it becomes easier to be yourself, yet still be respectful at the same time as being truly interested and curious to know more. 3, take your time. Don't interrupt or finish sentences. Doing this assumes that you know what they're going to say better than they do, or maybe that your idea will be better, or that you're in a rush and therefore interrupting will save you time. Which leads me to the second part of this point: do not rush. Give people the time to talk and the time to think. Be comfortable with silences. Don't fill them. The fact that people have stopped talking does not mean that they have stopped thinking. Let them think. 5, think about your face. Now, this is even more important in the world of video conferencing. Be really aware of what your face is doing. Quite often, we think our face is doing something it isn't. We might think that our face is saying, carry on, I'm interested, when actually it's saying, I'm bored, hurry up. Your face will either encourage or discourage the speaker. So it's worth checking in the mirror what your listening face looks like, or check it in the mirror window on your video conferencing software, and ask yourself, honestly, if the expression on your face is one that you would want to keep talking to. Eye contact fits into this box too. Eye contact can be harder said than done on a video conference when the camera and screen may not be aligned, but it's essential in a face-to-face environment, and on a video call, at least keep your eyes on the person talking. If you need to make notes on a video call, then I'd recommend telling the other person up front so they realise why they are looking at the top of your head, and you may even agree to turn your camera off so you don't distract them by appearing not to be listening. So one homework task I'd like to leave you with is to reflect on your own listening and to notice all the things that you do when you are listening really well. Write these down and keep a record. You'll build up a list to refer to, which you can revisit before important conversations when you know you need to listen well. This will help you to create the optimum mindset and your own conditions for listening. And importantly, you'll become more self-aware. Over time, you'll create a habit and they'll become natural. There are some examples on the screen, but these are a bit generic. So make the list really personal for you so that your listening has the impact that it's capable of. I hope that's been a useful overview to listening. Please don't underestimate just how powerful listening is to both you and the person who is being listened to. It's really worth putting the effort in to develop your listening skills. Please get in touch if you want to know more.